probably not the way that you experienced spelling.
Right.
But it should lead to your children not only being better spellers, but be better readers, and they're going to enjoy their spelling and word study instruction. And when I'm talking to parents directly, I like to say, how many of you had fun with spelling? Did you really like writing those words 10 times each? And you know, that's what 99% of us growing up, that's what was done to us. And some people will say, well, yeah, but I learned to spell. I said, well, but did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Your children are not only going to learn how to spell, but it's much more likely they're going to enjoy it. And they're going to be interested in words.
Yeah, so that's what it evolves into, an interest in the words, which then
That's right.
kind of helps where they're getting into those prefixes and suffixes and roots and the understanding of a word's base and what it means to be able to then spell other words, correct?
Correct. To spell other words and to figure out in their reading unfamiliar words that they run into, because they'll be able to apply that knowledge that has been developed. If you, I'm thinking of going back to, here are the questions that the teachers ask. If there's time to work this in, Meg, and I usually do this, not all the time, but when I'm walking in cold turkey with a group of teachers, and what you have described is so much the way it is across the country. I mean, teachers have these same questions. Parents have these same questions. Teachers don't have an extensive background in word study or how the system works, as do you, because you had to deliberately commit yourself to it, and you're motivated. So you're trying in turn to motivate these teachers. I like early on to give a couple of examples. Say, spelling does make sense. It really does. It is logical. That doesn't mean it's easy. It does take time to learn. We all know that. But it makes sense. And this is what you're going to help your students understand. You're going to help them become aware of and appreciate and enjoy learning about the logic of the spelling system. Mm-hmm. And for the little ones, that can begin with what Magic E does. That's where we compare and contrast a CVC pattern with a pattern that ends in the silent E. There's a lot of consistency in that. There are some exceptions, but most words are going to follow the pattern.
Right, and if you use the terminology oddballs, they love that. They crack up, so.
Oh, good, yeah, that wins out with us, too. We use that term more often than any other. And then with students who are farther along, comparing and contrasting two-syllable words where there's a single consonant in the middle versus two consonants in the middle. Well, what's that about? Well, most of the time it signals that there's a single consonant in the middle in a word like human. The vowel is going to be long. And so if you're not sure how to spell a word like human, but you've learned, okay, if you hear a long vowel in the first syllable, there's going to be just one consonant that follows it. Mm-hmm. That's helpful. When you are run into a word like human and you aren't sure what it is, well, that pattern can help you. If there's just one consonant in the middle, try a long vowel sound. But if that doesn't sound like a word you know, then try the short vowel sound. So we're giving these examples, and you're doing that, showing how spelling and reading actually, you're learning about these principles and in reading and spelling, how one can reinforce the other.
Yeah, you're using your cueing system to some extent, too. They are,
Exactly.
Even when we tell them.
And then the one that usually blows most people away is the spelling meaning connection, showing an example of that. And I love to use words like sign, S-I-G-N, and then ask them now. Pretend if you're a 4th or 5th grade teacher, write that word on the board, smart board, whatever board you have, and then ask the students, now, when you sign your name, what do you call that? And then I'll just say signature, and then write signature right underneath sign so that the S-I-G-N line up.
Mm-hmm.
And ask them, now, what do you notice here? And then use another example, like, and I probably did this at Rutgers. They're my favorite examples. The word bomb with the silent B at the end, but then right underneath it, we write bombard. Okay, we still have the B-O-M-B spelling. We hear the B in bombard. We don't in bomb. And then muscle and muscular, the silent C and the sounded C.
Competition's another one.
It's starting in the... I'm sorry, was there a question there that I missed?
No, I'm laughing. I said competition. I always have to stop and think myself about the word compete and then go into competition. But it's true. Even, I mean, you don't really... they're not interconnected. I don't think people really get that. And I think once you do, it helps your spelling.
You point it out to them.
Yeah, that's definitely something I need to do.
And you can use that example, Meg. That's a great example. But, the word competition has always given me fits. But then I learned about the spelling meaning connection. Okay, where does competition come from? Well, the base word or root word, whatever term you use, is compete. Oh my gosh, I hear a long E in compete, and these words are related in spelling, therefore they're related in meaning. And again, that's pretty dramatic for most teachers when we show them that relationship between spelling and meaning. But then I'd like to hasten to add, now those of you who teach the primary grades, you're right, you're not here yet. Your students are not here yet, but you're building up to this by helping them discover patterns that work at the level of sound. The intermediate teachers will help students learn these patterns that reflect meaning, but you're helping your students discover these sound patterns. And as we've said, there's a lot of more logic that underlies these spelling to sound patterns than a lot of us think.
Which actually could help me link the fact that what they're doing is such a foundational piece to what these students will need then to in turn understand meaning versus spelling. With the meaning with the spelling.
That's right. And you may not even, there's not much time, but maybe even just one slide says, okay, Common Core foundational skills, grades K through 5. When they look over those foundational skills, I think it's pages 15, 16, and 17 in the English Language Arts standards, they'll see that they're developmentally sequenced, and that's powerful. And I like to mention that when I'm talking about, where states where they're using the Common Core. So look at the examples that they're sharing with you here, the expectations for each grade level. They're not starting out with spelling meaning patterns. In kindergarten, they're starting out with phonological awareness. They're starting out with encouraging the kids to spell phonetically, not correctly, but phonetically, applying what they're learning. And this helps realize that this word study isn't something off, a lot of work just to get them to spell. It really does reflect how literacy development occurs. And you said it just a second ago, these primary teachers are teaching those important foundational understandings that are going to underlie the intermediate teachers teaching about, and we can use the term morphology, if you wish, that spelling meaning, but that's what it's all about.
What do you have, because what happens is, and this is what teachers I think are always looking for, did you ever have anyone create how their word study unit would look in grades K through 5 or even grades K through 8? Like how they lay out their time, how they lay out their lesson. Did anyone ever do that, or is that?
Well, yes. And, most comprehensively, a book that I co-authored with a colleague at St. Michael's College in Vermont, Kristen Gessman, and it came out a little less than a year ago. But it is it's intended as a foundational reading and writing text in college courses, so the price point is a bit higher. I think it's like $95, $96. But it emphasizes the teaching of reading and writing developmentally, pre-K up through the middle grades, through grade 8. And there's a separate chapter, what we did, just like in Words Their Way, where there's a separate chapter for each developmental word study level. In our book, we have a separate chapter for each developmental literacy level that covers not only word study, but the link to reading and writing. And there are examples of lessons, how classroom could be organized. I'd like to think that could be a good, it might be a handy resource for you, getting a copy of that. Actually, let me see what I will email my Pearson connection today and see if we can get a copy of that sent to you.
Oh my gosh, that would be phenomenal. Thank you so, so much.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, I'll let you know if they say no, but I kind of think they won't.
I would hope not. We're all starstruck here with you on the phone, so thank you so much.
No, I would be tickled if you would see it. And we really did set out to make it as concrete as we could. This is, this is how you differentiate, and then this is what the class is going to look like. This is what you're doing with one group when the other groups are doing something else. So really as practical as we can make it.
Yeah, I really believe that, I can pull them in and I can definitely give them all of this. And I think that's great if I can let them walk out with some kind of plan. That to me is where they feel like they hit the lottery and are willing to give it that try and that shot. As far as latest research, what is your suggestion that I can give to them for that?
Well, if you'd like, I could send a bibliography, and we update it. We keep our eyes out on the research, and all the research continues to support not only this developmental model, this is how we all learn about words, but the value of this approach to word study. That, as we often say, it's not a program. Words Their Way is not a program. Programs are pretty lockstep, and this is an approach, and it engages learners in looking at words from a variety of perspectives, and we provide a lot of those perspectives, of course, in activities. And the research supports doing that, pure and simple. Research does not support just sit down and memorize these words. And memory is important, of course we know that, but because people have assumed most often that spelling does not make sense, they conclude that therefore we have to teach you this straight memorization, just rote memorization.
Right.
And as you and I know, it's not. There are patterns there, and that's what we're focusing on. So if you think it would be helpful to share with them the list of, it's kind of like, oh wow, look at all these studies, and they're good studies, therefore this must be good. Or, well, let me stop there. Would that be helpful, or did you have something else in mind?
No, I definitely think that would be helpful. It's tough to get teachers to read things like that, but I think just the visual of that list is a great thing for them to see.
Yeah, that's good. I assume, oh my gosh, people don't have time to read this either. But if you're just looking at the number of studies, that can be very convincing. Say, okay, there is a lot of research foundation and support for this approach to word study.
Right, and I can just say to them, either you can do the research yourself, here you go, or it's been done for you.
Well, that's right.
So what now, in the end,